Hi, my name is Kirill Panfilov and welcome to my Pecha Kucha presentation on HCDE313 Intro to User Research. This was my first experience with user research, and I was just interested in learning how to quantify and analyze behavior to help my users have a better experience. So to start my research, I needed to pick a user. And being a student, I wanted to look at how other students study because I myself study at coffee shops, and that's my preferred place. So I kind of started there and wanted to see what other students do there and how it's different from my experience. So I was interested in this topic because I feel like coffee shops offer a very different study experience than a library does, so I wanted to learn why students think this is a good place to study. I myself prefer a relaxed environment, and the coffee helps me stay focused, but I wanted to see if others also shared that experience. So part of my research this quarter involved three main phases, which was field observations, interviews, and surveys. So each of these research methodologies provide me with the different types of data, different types of perspectives, and each phase kind of helped me guide my direction focus for the next subsequent phases. So my first phase of my study, I sat in a coffee shop like I would normally be studying, but then just to try to blend into the environment, and then I watched other people study and took notes at the same time. And I started to notice a lot of differences from my personal experience compared to other people's. So my observations gave me a good idea about what users were doing while they studied and what kind of things were they studying. Even though this method helped me figure out what people were doing, I needed to figure out why people were doing it, which I wouldn't be able to do just by watching. For me, taking meaningful notes was the most difficult part of the observation phase. Um, so many things happened at once in the crowded area, and it was really difficult for me to focus on what was important. I tried to scan the room and revisit people I already observed, but it was still pretty hard to point out the most meaningful things. After collecting and analyzing the behavior I observed, I needed a way to figure out why people were doing the things I observed to confirm or deny some of the assumptions I was having. To do this, I proceeded to conduct the interview phase. So I found three students who studied regularly at coffee shops, and I sat down to talk with them about their experiences. I tried to make the interview process seem natural by engaging in a conversation and trying to really pay attention to what they had to say without being too busy writing down every detail. I hope this method would give me the most genuine and useful answers. I found that interviews can be really helpful to understand why people do the things they do, but it's still difficult to guide people to get the right responses that you need. Uh, and also changing directions when something interesting comes along, but not getting too deep in the rabbit hole and getting too off track. So from this phase, I think I learned it's really good to be upfront with people so that they know exactly what you're looking for and can give you the best answers, and also learn not to try to confirm my biases and look for information that kind of aligns what I think should be the correct answer to these questions. So after my interviews were over, I started to make my survey for the next phase. And this would give me a lot more data to work with and also would help me look deeper into the things I learned during my interviews. And so I used my interviews as a guide to kind of make these questions. So the benefits of doing a survey was that it gave me a lot of data to analyze, and I also wanted to compare coffee shops to libraries, so I posted a survey at both locations just so I could have a good comparison. Another strength of the survey is that I can look at each question and pick apart and really analyze them using graphs and other stuff. But the problem is, I think a weakness of the surveys is that there's not a lot of room for people to express themselves and their individuality and their personal opinions. So when you make the survey, I think it was really important for me to be upfront about what we're looking for again. just so that people can really understand what this survey is about, what it's trying to accomplish, and then also just make sure the questions are easy and really break down the issues. So over the course of this whole research project, I think I learned two big things. And the first thing was changing directions is really important to make sure that you follow the data and not the data is following you. And also focusing on the user and not the actual location itself. And I think the biggest finding of my research was that realizing that there's a lot of pressure when people study, depending on where they are. If they study at a library, they can feel overpressured to study because everyone's being so studious around them. But maybe in a coffee shop, they're a little more inclined to watch too many YouTube videos or go online and do other things. So one of my solutions for this is to separate the room and have one room for one side of the room for conversations and one side of the room for studying. This keeps a studious environment for the people that are studying, but also has a relaxed background to relieve some of the pressure. So I think overall from doing this research, I learned a few things. I think I learned that user research is not for me, but I think there's some the values that I can take from it, such as understanding people and how settings affect the people that are in it. So through this research, I realized that people have a very different experience than I had. So whether I'm doing user research or working with other people, I think it's important to be aware that everyone has a slightly different perspective. Thanks for watching.